Sup, amigos? My name is Chubby Emo. 2016 has been an okay year. Personally, I think that I've had better years in my life, and I know a lot of people would agree with me to that point. But the one good thing about this year, 2016, was that I could vest myself more into the world of video games. And there have been many fantastic games that have come out this year. But there have also been some other games that haven't been that good. Now, I haven't been in the video game scene since 2004. The year where Half-Life 2...
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
Halo 2... and World of Warcraft all came out within 2 to 3 weeks of each other. That was November of 2004. That was probably one of the greatest months of my life. Now, in the ensuing 12 years, I didn't really have much to do with video games. So for me, the number 5 game that I enjoyed the least this year was a little known game called No Man's Sky. Now, the reason it's number 5 and not number 1 is because, like I had said, I dropped out from the world of gaming for the last 12 years. So when I go back to 2014, when there was all this buzz and all this hype, to me, I didn't even know that some of that stuff was said about the game. I didn't even know you could do it.
Is the game world infinite?
Yeah.
Does the game world make BioShock Infinite look less infinite by comparison?
Yes.
Will I get bored playing this game?
Sometimes.
When I pre-ordered the game for PlayStation 4, part of the reason was I thought having a PlayStation 4 last year would help the channel out a lot. Hint, it didn't. But that I would also pre-order some games that would be good for the system. And this one had really good box cover art. And I know you should never judge a book by its cover, and this was definitely a case. What I didn't like about this game was that the intro was epic, but after about 2 hours of playing the game, it became a drag. There wasn't enough backpack space. I'm really not interested in building shit. I'm not interested in collecting things. I'm also not interested in traveling for 30 minutes too. That might have been fun in the WoW days when you could have killed some people in between, but at this particular point in time, there wasn't really much to the game, and there wasn't really anything that was generated that was of big interest to me. If it was really a 3D Starbound with a bigger world, the bigger world might have been a good gimmick, but I didn't really have the time or the patience to really care about this mechanic. Now, of course, there's a host of other problems when it comes to the fact that the developer, I guess, was lying about the game.
How much interaction is there with other people playing No Man's Sky?
Those were AI,
Yeah.
those wingmen. But you could encounter other players. The reality is, the likelihood of that is tiny, basically.
Will you be able to play with your friends?
Yeah.
But like I said, I really knew nothing about it, so had he lied, had he not lied, really doesn't matter to me. So for No Man's Sky, I bought the limited edition from Amazon. Got it the day that it came out. After about a week of playing, I figured I didn't want to own this game anymore. It wasn't a really good option for me, so I decided to return it. They accepted the full refund. Thank you so much, Amazon. And then I got a game called Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, which came out about a week later. At first, when I got Deus Ex, I thought, hey, this is a much better use of $60. But the further and more I played on this game, the more I was not engrossed in the story. The more I found out that this was really just an episodic rehash of Human Revolution, the version of the game that came out 5 years earlier. This game takes place just a few years later. Look, I've been a Deus Ex fan since 1999, when the original one captivated me with its story and its fantastic universe, and it brought through political dialogue in a game.
For 100 years, there's been a conspiracy of plutocrats against ordinary people.
Do you have a single fact to back that up?
Number 1, in 1945, corporations paid 50% of federal taxes. Now they pay about 5%. Number 2, in 1900, 90% of Americans were self-employed. Now it's about 2%.
So?
It's called consolidation. Strengthen governments and corporations, weaken individuals. With taxes, this can be done imperceptibly over time.
It's really probably one of the most influential games over the last almost 18 years to have come out. Unfortunately, despite the original Deus Ex being one of the most influential games, the subsequent sequels that came out afterwards weren't as influential. Now, Human Revolution that came out in 2011 was a fantastic game. In Mankind Divided, There are some nice visual effects. There are some nice moments in the game, I'm not gonna lie. And if it took me 12 hours to finish the game, I make more than $6 an hour. So the price of the game was well justified in terms of entertainment. There is no replay value to this game. There wasn't another way that I wanted to do things. I saw the story. The story doesn't change. Nothing happens in the game that is of really any importance, in my opinion, to the actual story in itself. However they wanted to go in the direction of it, I don't know, but it looks like no matter what, you're going to have to buy another episode in that game. I know that a DLC came out just a few weeks after its release. I just wasn't interested enough to want to get it. Also, in here, there was these in-app purchases that have nothing to do with anything, and they are so awkward because you revert your save and you lose them. Why would you even buy it? I paid $60 for this game. I don't want to have to buy some credits for $5. Give me a break. When it comes to video games, I know at the end of the year we always do all these reviews and, you know, look back to gaming in whatever year. We always forget the games that came out in January, and this is a really great case of a game that had way too many parts. I feel like we got trolled, and it was FNAF World, which came out in January of 2016. I even made a video about it the day that it came out. Welcome to FNAF World. This should be good. I can already tell. But I only played the first FNAF, and when I did, I thought it was a great game. The second and the third and the fourth, which I do own, I played maybe about 5-10 minutes of it and figured, hey, it's exactly the same. I'm not going to go into this. Now, this particular RPG element, there was nothing scary about this, right? FNAF was known to be scary. And it was known to have a very simple mechanic. This was not simple. This was trying to be Pokemon with pizzas rolling across the screen and some weird elements that I had no idea about. I guess I didn't understand the story, but there was really nothing enjoyable about this game. The more I played it, the more upset that I got, the fact that I spent the money to buy this game. It came to the point where the developer himself offered refunds to anybody who wanted them and took the game off of Steam. Most of the time, people will forgive a lot of things about a game if the story is very good. All right, number 2, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but it's also split across a game called Necropolis, which was probably not well known at all. You probably can't even see the background, to be honest. That was pretty much this game. Like, it was on my radar for like a week, and then once I played it, I even did a video on it. I played it for a little bit and I was like, you know, this is not worth it. It's very bland. They came out with a brutal edition later and it seemed like it got a lot better, but by that time I had already lost all interest. I didn't want to have to spend $30 on this game. I'm being a little too rough on it, but it just seemed too generic. Landscapes weren't even that good. The moves didn't have that many combos. There weren't that many different items, and then you would get all the way down and then you would die and then you have to restart from the top. I get games like Nuclear Throne are like that, but at least Nuclear Throne runs are very fast and that you can just click a button and just keep going. For Necropolis, you would die and then there was absolutely no incentive to go back because you would go back to a first floor that was exactly the same. You get the exact same item afterwards on your second run and you would think, well, I just did this already. There's no point. Part of the beauty of games like Binding of Isaac is that the first floor is very easy and you could potentially get a very, very good item that first floor. You could dictate your run through there. With Necropolis, it didn't even happen that way. You can't just pick it up and play it. If you happen to get very far in the game and then ended up dying, well, you're shit out of luck then. You're gonna have to redo that entire goddamn thing. And that's something that I really, really disliked about Necropolis. All right. So now we're here. The number 1 game that I disliked playing the most this year should not be a surprise if you've been on my channel for quite some time. Number 1 game that I least enjoyed playing was Enter the Gungeon. Now, throughout all of my Let's Plays, I make all these jokes that, you know, this is the best game ever made. Enter the Gungeon. The best game of 2016. The best game of 2016. Well, you just have to replace one word with best being worst, and there we have it. I can't even make it to the end of this first fucking level because I just want to shoot myself before I get there. Just before I start this rant, I'm not against any of the developers. I don't even know who they are. I'm pretty sure they're good people. I'm not gonna go and rip on them. I'm gonna rip on this piece of work, which is not them. The problem with Enter the Gungeon is that right from the get-go, already, it's slow, right? The characters, the controls for the game are fluid, they're smooth. It's no problem if you want to dodge roll. It's no problem if you want to avoid some projectiles. That's fine. The problem is that the pacing of the game is so slow. Take, for instance, the very first floor that you get into. When you want to just even get into the game, you have a floor that has 10, 12, 13, 14 rooms. And you know what's even worse is that the item that you're going to get from this floor is probably going to be a really ineffective gun. It seems like sometimes the developers spent way much more time writing some bad puns than actually designing a decent level, or writing a system that would give you a smaller level but give you a better gun at the very beginning. Because sometimes you'll even end up on the 4th or the 5th floor. You have your starting weapon, which has the only one that has infinite ammo, and it doesn't do shit for damage. Now, couple on the fact that there's hardly any drops when you get anything. You might be low on health, but they're not going to give you any drops. The other thing I also really hate is how for the bosses, if you don't get hit at the boss fight, then you get a heart container. So you get rewarded for not getting hit. That's fine. But then what happens when you get to the later game, you're 45 minutes into the run and you haven't gotten any heart containers. You're at half a heart, and you know what? Your run might end in 1 second. It might end with a stupid little misclick here or there. And what do you have? What do you have to speak for it? You have a shitty message that goes and tells you, well, you died because of your own slow reflexes. The other thing too, I've maybe sunk in about 35 hours into this game. I'm looking at it, and you know, one of the things that kills me is the number of unlocks that are there. And yeah, I get it, the game gets a little bit easier as you unlock more, but let's just keep going. 30 hours in, I haven't unlocked that much. Where can I get my shortcuts? The first 2 floors are complete ass. It's so boring. It's so slow, it feels like I'm going through molasses. The problem with it being slow is that you're also slow. So it's hard for you to dodge these bullets, but they think that it's a funny mechanic that you can dodge roll. Okay, that's fine. I have another game that came out around this time that you could dodge roll. That's a hell of a lot more fun than this one, and it's named Dark Souls. I got another game where you can click on stuff, and you can have a lot more fun with clicking on it, and it came out around the same time, and it's called Honeycam Studio. The reason that it gets the #1 spot for being one of the most unpleasant games I played this year is because a lot of people who watch my channel, and this is fine, this is not a knock on anybody, the day that it came out, I got 150 messages asking me if I was going to play the game. And back then, I thought I had a genuine desire to play this game, and I thought, oh, this will be very fun. I still think in some capacity the game is decently fun. That said, there is a good soundtrack to it. There's some enjoyable elements to it. Sometimes I wish that I could really sit down and enjoy the game without thinking about the slow pace, without thinking about the unrewarding characters, the unrewarding items that you would even get out of any of it, and just the overall negative connotation that I've built up over the game. Those are the top 5 games that I did not enjoy playing so much this year in 2016. Leave a like if you'd like to see the top 5 games that I really enjoyed playing. And I want to do it in a way that it's not all AAA games. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next one. Adios, amigos.